You're listening to the Griffon Sports Insider Podcast, giving you an in-depth look at Missouri Western athletics with interviews, features, game broadcasts, and more. Here's your host, Tommy Rezaj.
Hi again, everyone. Welcome to the Griffon Sports Insider Podcast. Hope everyone is having a terrific summer. I'm Tommy Rezaj, and we're talking basketball as our new head coaches have been so busy out on the recruiting trail signing new Griffons. In the case of men's basketball, 12 new Griffs joining us for the 2025-26 school year, as is our newest head coach for men's basketball, Brooks McKowen, who was introduced to us this past March. Brooks, welcome back. This was the room where it happened, where you were introduced to all of us, and so excited. I mean, here we are. I mean, about 3 months since you've been introduced. How have things been going? You've assembled a staff, and now you've assembled a team.
It does not feel like it's been that long.
Yeah.
It feels like just yesterday we were in here with the press conference. It's been kind of a whirlwind just going through. Been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of good things, learning, a lot of new things about the university and about, the different little things you do here. But it's been awesome. Everybody's been great to me and great to my staff, so we're excited. We've got a good roster put together that we feel really good about. So that stress is gone, at least, which that was the first couple months. But no, we're excited and we're ready to get rolling.
This is somebody that knows this region, this conference quite well, spending the last dozen years at Upper Iowa, a team that was in the Northern Sun, and then more recently in the Great Lakes Valley Conference. Now Coach McKowen joining us in the MIAA. And to get a team to compete in this league, I mean, you scoured all sorts of places, 12 players from 7 different states, 4 incoming freshmen, 8 transfers, 3 of those 8 coming to with you from Upper Iowa, 9 guards, a very guard-heavy class here, and one of them, your nephew, Trey McKowen, who's from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, so kind of a neat family tie there. But as you went about assembling this roster, I think any of us who have followed this program knew that whoever was going to be leading this team, it was going to be very different. I think we just lost 8 or 9 seniors. It was going to be a pretty big overhaul. So when you came in, what was kind of, and you went out on the trail, what were the big things you were looking for?
Well, I think it starts with Dev Butler. Him coming back, what he's done and, his ability to buy into what we believe in and the amount of help he's given us. I think it all starts there. Him to have the confidence in us. I met with him shortly after the press conference and talked with him and, talked about what I see him, fitting into our program. And he's been awesome. I think I have to start with him just because he's been amazing in teaching us the ins and outs of, from a player side of things here and helping on recruiting visits and this and that. So shout out goes to him. He's been awesome. And then from there, we had to build, a whole new roster.
Yeah.
The hard part to that, and I didn't know how it would come together. We knew we were going to have to be very transfer heavy, which is not what I've done in the past at Upper Iowa. We were high school guys for the most part, build them up, grow them, and develop them, and we had to kind of adjust. I didn't know what we'd be able to get with high school kids. You talked about Trey, that was a big one for us. Obviously his family, which helps.
Yeah.
But he's an outstanding point guard, and I look forward to watching him grow as a player and a person here, and being able to get him as a high school kid is huge. And then we went out and got, one stayed. Bryce was already committed to the previous staff, and he stayed with us, which was awesome. He's a good athlete, comes from a great family. We're excited to have him. And then we went out and got 2 more high school kids, and I didn't know if we'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
Jaleel's from, Waterloo, which was closer to the area we were in, and then Bodie from Des Moines. And both great players, great high school players. And I think you need that as a foundation for your program. Otherwise, it's a 1 year and done, and you don't have anything to build off. So you talk about building with those guys first, and then can you balance your roster? I think that's the next key is, you don't want 10 seniors. You want to have some balance and some depth in there so that you can grow guys and continue to grow the program. And I think we did a great job of that. We've got, 4 seniors, a couple juniors, a couple sophomores, the 4 freshmen. So we're excited about that balance, and we're excited how the roster came together.
Yeah, Jaleel Manego, one of those freshmen we talked about, incoming freshman from Waterloo West High, a first-team all-conference player there. Bodie Goodman, another Iowan from Waukee Northwest, first-team all-state, 18.7 points per game this past year as a senior, as an all-stater from that state. And you mentioned your nephew, Trey McKowen, a 2-time first-team all-stater. And Bryce Dawson from Phoenix City, Alabama, committing to Missouri Western in January under Coach Will Martin then. And he's a guy that averaged 17 points, 9 rebounds per game in high school. On the transfer portal area, obviously 3 guys from Upper Iowa. I look at a guy like Noah King, just off the top, All-American at Kirkwood Community College. He's been in this game a long time, 3 years at Kirkwood, year sat out with injury, 59 games over the past 2 years at Upper Iowa, two-time All-Great Lakes Valley. I mean, you talk about leaders. I mean, he certainly seems like he was one for you.
Absolutely. Noah is a basketball guy from a basketball family. Yeah. He comes from a great family of basketball players, a bunch of college players in his family. Brother currently plays in Division I level. Dad is an unbelievable high school basketball coach. And for us to be able to bring Noah with was huge. And from the start of it, we made sure that he knew that we were going to build, a little bit around him, but also build so that this wasn't a rebuilding year. We really want to, hit the ground running with him, and having a guy like that gives you the ability to do it because he not only knows our system, how we play, how we coach, but he can lead. He was one of our leaders last year at Upper Iowa, and obviously led us to a lot of wins over the last 2 years. So we are so excited to bring him and, the other two Upper Iowa guys with him. You talk about Gavin and Will, both key components to a very good basketball team last year. And, those guys are going to be huge because not only are they great young men, but they know how we do things. And they're going to be able to bring this whole new roster together and help everybody out and lead them and show them this is how it goes and this is how we do it.
Gavin Hirschberger starting all 30 games this past year for Upper Iowa, a team that went 21-9. And then William Cabreras, a sophomore guard coming in from Upper Iowa. He's from Rhinebeck, Iowa initially. 56 games over 2 seasons there with the Peacocks. Just kind of looking at the class. One other guy I wanted to hit on was an NAIA transfer from Topeka, and Ty Henry. 3 seasons, terrific career there at Baker, Heart of American Athletic Conference first teamer this past year. There's a guy that's sitting in the heart of MIAA country, certainly had his choice of places to go, and he comes here as a senior. What a great pickup for your staff.
That was huge. He's another one of those guys. I look at him and Noah as a similar type guy where he's been a part of a winning program. He knows how to win. He knows what it takes. And you look at his numbers, it's not like he blows it out of the water. Obviously, he shot it well, and his percentages are really high, but it's not like they're just these crazy high numbers. He just won. He does everything it takes to win, and I think he's going to be one of those guys for us that just has that stability, has that depth. With college basketball the way it is today, it's hard to get upperclassmen that have experience and that know how to play and have won in the past and been all conference players. So he was a big one for us. We were so excited when he decided to commit to us and to be a part of what we're building here, and I think he's definitely going to be a huge key for it next year.
Just remembering back 3 months ago, always some of the questions when it's a new coach, it's like, what's the style going to be? What are we going to cater to? Well, when you look at the tape, when you look at the numbers, 209 wins in your time there, 10 winning seasons, but the common denominator through all that is averaging over 80 points per game pretty much every year you were at Upper Iowa. So when you look at these guys and their capability and going back to kind of what your basis is as a coach, fun, fast-paced offense, right, is kind of a theme I'm getting here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then with this roster, as you look into this roster even more, you're going to find that they can stretch the floor. We got a ton of guys that can, score in a variety of ways. We got some guys that have really been able to shoot it in their careers at, at different levels. And we're excited about that. We feel like we've got some length, some size. As you said, 9 guards. There's going to be a lot of guards out there, but there's some longer guards that can still rebound and defend. So, no, we're excited about it, and we're going to play fast. I don't hide that from anybody, and if you've ever played against me or watched my teams play, you know that we're going to get up and down and play as fast as the other team will allow us to do. If they want to run with us, we're going to run, and I feel like we built a roster that is built for that.
Well, let's talk about some size for a minute. You bring in a forward center, and Rayler Vargas Hernandez, a senior, 6'10", 230 pounds, was playing at Southeastern Community College in the state of Iowa, making 29 starts over 2 years there. And going back even further, so first off, he's from Venezuela originally, spent some time at Limestone University, which is a D2 in South Carolina. So he's been around this game a long time, and man, that's going to be some huge presence inside.
Yeah, and you need, we talk about speed and depth and space in the floor. We also need a big guy that can bang a little bit, because you're going to have nights where you face guys that's what they do, is they pound it inside and they try to beat you that way, and he's going to be that guy that can match that. And I think we can use him in some different ways as well. But before he got hurt at Southeastern, I think he was one of their key components to them making a run. And he tweaked his knee late in the year, but he's a good, big dude that can move well. And that's the other thing. Like, you look at his size, but he can get up and down. He can run. He finishes at an unbelievably high rate. So we are, excited that that he's a part of it, and he's going to have a big role in that as well.
And you can read about all 12 of these guys in greater detail. We'll have a story on all this at gogriffons.com, where you can access all of our Griffon Sports Insider podcast episodes as well, with men's basketball coach Brooks McKowen joining us here. Let's talk about your staff for just a moment. Joel Hansen, Danny Tabasca announced as the new assistants this past spring. Joel, an assistant at Upper Iowa this past year. He'd been a grad assistant there for 2 years, did a stint at Minnesota Crookston, as did I. Lived there for 8 months back in the day, and now Joel's your assistant along with Danny, who'd been a grad assistant at Upper Iowa the last 2 years. So certainly no introductions needed there. A lot of familiarity with those guys. Just talk about kind of your faith and the potential you see in them as young and up-and-comers.
Those two are the best. I am so fortunate to have them as part of my staff, and the ability to bring both of them here as full-time assistants was huge for me. They have been, Joel, like you said, we sent him to Crookston for a year. I don't even know if he was there 8 months, to be honest with you.
That's about how long I was there. Yeah.
But then he came back, and those two are young, they're hungry, they work hard, they do things the right way. At the end of the day, they're great people, and I think that's the biggest part. If you can find guys on your staff that are just good people, that have good character, that's going to carry over to your team. Because as a coach, you are a leader of your team, and we want guys that are going to lead the team, because honestly, they're going to be around more than I am. They're going to go to the assistants more than they come to the head coach with issues and problems or whatever it may be. And they know my door's always open, but those guys are going to deal with a lot of that. To have two guys that I can trust, that know how I do things and how I want it done, is huge. It's made this transition unbelievable for me.
This is a program, it's had a really unique history, kind of a national contender under Tom Smith. Fell on some hard times in the early 21st century, and then with Sundance Wicks and Will Martin coming in, brought it back to a place where it was pretty appealing, maybe nationally, regionally known, regionally contending. And we talk so much about that when you come in, that this is a place that has had now 4 winning seasons the last 6 years. When you think of the potential, the ceiling for this program over our next 4 to 6 years, where does your mind go there?
Yeah, I think you always want to, first and foremost, you want to put a team on the floor that is going to compete every night. Win or lose, I want people to walk away and to look at our game and say, those guys play hard. Those guys do it the right way. They are fun to watch. That is the first thing that I want. The wins will take care of themselves. But then when you look at goals, we want to compete for championships. We want to compete for national tournaments. We want to make runs in national tournaments. You can say that, and those are all those high goals that you want. But you got to take care of the process first. And I think the process starts with just getting the right guys in here, putting the right product on the floor, getting that crowd involved, that community involved, because that's how you build special programs and take special runs like they did in their past.
It's funny you bring up crowd. I was actually going to ask this to you. So I remember, I'm a Nebraska native, and Missouri Western was playing someone on Saturday. I think it was Fort Hays State, and Nebraska was playing UCLA, and they upset them. It was a big deal, and they talk about home court advantage, and the UCLA head coach said, I don't really believe in home court advantage. I know most coaches do. And at this level, it's no, we're not getting tens of thousands like they do at that level, but you get a few thousand in a place like Looney. That does make a difference. Perhaps you've experienced that at Upper Iowa. How big of an impact truly can home court advantage be?
I don't know if I can explain it, because I truly do believe in it. I think just my track record at Upper Iowa proves that. The record, our home record there probably shouldn't be as high as it was. We had an unbelievable run, especially if you look at the last 5 years and the record we had at Upper Iowa. And I truly believe that is because of the community, because of the students that came out to watch our games. People hated playing there, hated playing against us in that place. And it was a small on top of you, but it was really the people there. And it starts with, you got to fill with the stands with your community, but then your students. If you can get your students bought in, and you can get a rowdy student section that's into the game, that's bought into it, which I've said, we're going to do it. We're going to be out at as many events as we can, as well as a basketball team and staff. And I think that just builds on it. It's a big difference when you play a home game when school's in session and when you play a home game on a break. As soon as we build our schedule, it's the first thing I look at is how many of our games are on break. We have way too many of them this year, first of all. Yeah. But it's a different feel in that gym. And I truly do believe that the energy in it can sway, and momentum, that's a huge aspect.
You mentioned schedule there. It won't be too long until that's released. What work has gone into that? I know some of this stuff is always, years, months in advance, and there's probably, at least some stuff in the cupboard when you got here. In terms of scheduling, what work has gone into that for this year?
Yeah, there was a decent base when we got here, and we're finalizing it right now. I think we've got one more to get, and then scrimmage, our exhibition game. We're still kind of working on some of those things, but we're getting close with it. Obviously, our location is great.
Yeah.
Obviously, for the conference, it's awesome, but then for non-conference, being able to play a lot of those GLVC teams, just because they're day trips, they're within a couple hours, is huge, and we need to continue to do that. And we tried to work hard on it this year. So I think we've got a good schedule. We're going to play, we may play a couple non-D2s, but for me, I'd rather play all D2s.
Yeah.
If we can, I want to go play the best competition. I want to go play the best teams, put the best product out there, so that if we do have one of those groups that's got a chance to make a regional tournament run, you've got it there for you.
And if you happen to play one of those GAC teams, one of those NSIC teams, you score wins over them in November, that helps you come March. The last thing for you, as we're talking again with Brooks McKowen, big national news within the last week as it pertains to this settlement. I feel like we've heard that word a lot, the NCAA settlement. Basically what was ruled is that now this ruling is allowing schools to share revenue directly with student athletes. Schools can disperse up to $20.5 million a year. Further, this settlement also has available $2.8 billion, a pool to pay former athletes dating back to 2016 to 2024. This all going into effect July 1st. It always starts at the very top, right? Power 5 and those guys with the deeper pockets. But as we see with these things, there are trickle-down effects. It may take a little while, but eventually it does work its way down to the mid-major, the low-major, D2, D3, so on and so forth. Just recruiting to this level today with this kind of going on, what impact does that have on young people as they're kind of making their decisions?
Well, first of all, they need to pay further back. I'm too old, so I'm not going to get paid for this settlement. But with that being said, it's right now for us, it doesn't have a whole lot of effect on us because they were already, paying to play with some of those higher levels, and it's trickled down to the D2 level. It's trickled down to even, NAI and D3 a little bit. So, there obviously has been that at our levels already. So we've been competing with that. But what I've always told people is D2 has always kind of been like that. D2, some schools are fully funded, some are not.
Yeah.
Some have, money where they can, overpay this, overpay that. Everybody has a little bit of different thing they're working on depending on how the university is set up and what they allow them to do. So it's always been a change. So I think we're still kind of competing with that and still battling that. Our resources here are outstanding, so that, that's a good thing for us. But as far as that settlement goes, the trickle down to us, I don't think will happen for a while, and it's ever changing.
Yeah.
They're talking about that $20 million they can pay right now across the whole athletics. Well, that's going to go up next year, and then they're going to tweak it to this because it's not going to work this way. And so, that thing's going to be ever changing, and I don't know if they'll ever get it perfect. I don't know if there is a perfect answer to it. And like you said, it will eventually trickle down to us, and there'll be some of that with us. And as it does that, we adjust and we just continue to go.
And I feel like there's always strings attached to it, right? It's there's still an ongoing legal battle here. They're asking Congress to intercede here. So college athletics, you've been a head coach for a dozen years. You talked about your playing days at Northern Iowa under Greg McDermott. You think about when you were a player to now, so much change, right?
Correct. And you just got to be able to adapt and adjust. Yeah. I think the coaches that are willing to adapt and adjust and not be stuck in the old ways are the ones that are going to succeed and continue to grow. And that's something we just have to do. If they throw new rules at them, we take them and we run with it and we adjust and keep going.
Yeah. Well, Brooks, this was, believe it or not, our first one-on-one since you've been hired. I've been looking forward to it. Your Twitter page has been so busy, signing all these guys, and it's got me excited. And I feel like I'm just scratching the surface learning about these kids. And November will be here before we know it. So appreciate you taking the time. Congrats again on getting hired, and have fun. We'll see you around shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm excited. Let's get going.
Awesome. Again, that's Brooks McKowen signing his first recruiting class here, getting ready for his first year as the head coach of Missouri Western men's basketball. I'm Tommy Rezach. Thanks for tuning in to the Griffon Sports Insider Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and for all the latest news 24 hours a day, head to GoGriffons.com.